Hey,
There's a lot going on here. Yes. Hello.
I didn't have time to do my makeup or my hair.
Well, look at me. Jesus Christ.
There we go. I can't help the light.
I got the face for radio, and you look brilliant. Doesn't matter.
Thank you. All right. So you survived this stuff for the last couple of years, eh?
I did.
You doing okay?
By some miracle, I did, and I wasn't infected yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
None of my family neither. So, which is surprising.
I guess that's good and bad. I mean, bad because you could be, and then good because you don't want to take the chance, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just you have to take care of so much bullshit in isolation. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Well, we did 3 of the 4 of us here got it back in April and May of 2020.
That's early.
At the beginning, and that was the worst one, and then the Delta was a little better, and then the Omicron thing's fine, much better. But we got the first one, and it was my wife she coughed for about 8 months, and I'm 10 years older than her, and I used to smoke cigarettes and didn't do a lot of haven't done a lot of exercise, so I actually got hit pretty hard, and it kind of knocked my lungs out for about 9 months. My lungs were not back to normal. So that totally sucked. It was
How do you cope with something like this?
Well, actually, one good thing it did for me was the first 2 weeks I was very scary. Went to the hospital, and they said that, if we admit you, we're going to have to put the tube down your throat, the airway. And if you do that, there's no turning back from that. You could damage your throat, and you could have some real problems from that. And they said that they gave me a little machine and said, if your oxygen levels go any lower, you need to come right away. And no, I was, we went there, and my wife watched me for about 4 days because it was very scary. It was like, it felt like somebody sat on my chest 24 hours a day, but it was the sound of a crackling fire every time I breathed in or out. So that was a big thing for me, because it made me think about things I never thought about. And the main thing is the cliche, the stereotypical thing that some people start to think about, which is, whoa, at the time I was 54 years old, and when I got this, April 2020, and it was like, okay, do my family and kids know I love them? Yes, I'm good there. Are they okay financially? Yes, we're good there. What's the next thing? Well, there's not much left for me. I mean, my life is music. So the third thing was, in my little Annihilator 35 years, what's the state of that? What do I have here as like a little mini legacy? Everybody has their legacy, whether it's their children or their art or their job or what they've done. Some people do great things for others. Some people do great things for themselves or their families or bad things, whatever. But the word legacy is not for some famous rich person or whatever. It's for anybody, every human. My little legacy was music, or would be music, and besides children and family. And I thought, fuck, I totally have that wrong. I don't have most of my albums. You can't find anywhere on iTunes or Spotify, and some of them just sound really badly because they were kind of not really necessarily recorded with much of a budget sometimes. But if anybody ever wanted to find my music, it'll be very difficult to find many of my CDs. So I got out of this COVID thing, and my mission was to get all my albums, if I could, get them all back and put them all together in a good way so I could do a deal where eventually in the next year, anything I've ever done is going to be available everywhere, even if it's not wanted or not a big thing. At least I could go tomorrow to heaven or hell or wherever you go, or in the ground or burnt up in a crematorium. wherever I end up going after this life, at least my little legacy is there if anybody ever wants to find it. Right?
Sir,
so
don't call this legacy little. Please do me a favor. It's not little at all.
No, but that's the cool thing. That's one of the other things I learned from lying in bed for months, because I was basically lying in bed for months. I had no energy for a few months, and my best friend became YouTube, and which is great. It's great if you know what to look for, if you want to know something about something. But if you're just surfing or looking for the recommended videos, man, it can totally make your head spin, and you waste 5 hours watching stuff that you realize is a waste. But one of the things that I realized during those couple of months last year was how many amazing people there are in the world that have done some amazing things. Because when you're in the music business and you have a band, and that's your whole life for many decades since you were young, you're very narrow in what you've experienced and who you've met and in other things in life. And I realized that music and my band were the only things I really was doing for all these years. And one thing I didn't realize was just how many incredible people there are out there. I doing things, it was kind of enlightening.
It's great. But, of all ideas that you get in all this time, how come it was, I have to do metal again? After 15 years,
you know what? Because when I had this thing about, okay, the only thing I need to do now is put my music legacy in order, get it together, sort it out, make it good, get it out there, available. One of the things I did was, before you heard about everybody selling their catalog or selling their masters, selling their publishing.
Yeah,
I remember seeing Jimi Hendrix's estate. Kids and estate fighting about what to do with the rights. Yeah. And I thought, I don't want my kids and I don't want anybody fighting over my little thing. So I had actually thought, who is the better person or thing or company to take care of publishing rights? Well, a publisher. They know what they're doing. And who knows more what to do with a record? A record company. So I gathered I think 22 albums, 22 releases that I did.
Insane.
And that does not include the 3 from Roadrunner, the first 3 that we did, Alice in Hell, Never Neverland, Set the World on Fire. And I got it all together, repackaged it, redid it all. And I decided to sell it. And this was before we all heard of, Bruce Springsteen and ZZ Top and all these other bands, David Coverdale selling everything. Yeah. I was already doing that as soon as this, I'd say by June of 2020, I was already on that path. I was selling it. So I found a label called Adel in Germany, of course, that they were the ones that understood that I wasn't really looking for some big payday. I was looking more, will you release the packages nicely? Will it be made available as part of our agreement? And they did. So when I technically sold the masters to Adel, I don't even own my past anymore. It's all gone. It's all fresh slate, clean slate. They sent me a nice big check, but they wanted to think of an idea. How do we sort of tell people that Annihilator catalog is coming out with us in the next couple of years, and we want to let you know. And they called me and said, okay, now that we own your stuff, can you help us? Can you help us think of an idea? And I said, well, hey, reality, it might be my life's work, but it's also old stuff. And a lot of people haven't heard these albums. And it's probably not going to be some crazy running to the stores or to the online community to download every new album. But they wanted me to come up with an idea that could just create some interest when they announce it. And I woke up the next day, I think, and thought, what if I took the one record that I have that I wish I could redo it? And which one would it be? And it was that one right away, called Metal, in 2007.
Yeah.
And the reason was simply because the three main people on the album, Dave Pad, my singer, Mike Mangini, people know him from Steve Vai, Extreme, and now Dream Theater, and myself, the three of us done many albums together. Yeah. But that one, Mike was very busy and distracted. My singer was distracted by things back at home when we were doing the record, so his mind wasn't on the singing. And of course, being a singer, you've got to be 100%, into it when you're recording. And I was distracted by the deadlines and the budgets and getting it done quick and things. So I made the biggest mistakes. But you had a perfect storm of three of us who have done some very good work together, but we all did our worst work together on that album. So all right. I said to the guy at Adel, I said, listen, why don't I just redo it with one of my favorite drummers and favorite singers if I can get a hold of them. And they said, well, that's pretty cool, but we should release the original one too, because it's not cool to just forget the other one. And some people like the original one much better. So I thought, who's my favorite drummer? Well, Neil Peart. He's gone. He's left us. And my two other favorite drummers one was from the band The Sweet. Mm-hmm. He's passed away, and the other one was Bruce Gary, which is the drummer for the LA band The Knack. And he passed away. So number 4 favorite drummer, Dave Lombardo. So there we go.
Peter Criss or something.
Yeah, you know what? I was talking to a friend of mine, Brian Tichy, well-known drummer, and he and I are incredible Kiss and Van Halen fans. So we talk a lot about, for example, I talked to him last week about, we were talking about the studio songs for Kiss Alive 2.
Yeah.
And I was we were talking about how, Bob Kulick came in and played these incredible solos, and they were my favorite solos. And then I realized, oh my God, that's not Ace Frehley. But I thought that Peter Criss, I didn't think he was playing on Larger Than Life and All American Man and all that. I thought it was Anton Fig who did a lot of Kiss stuff. Yeah. And Brian Tichy reminded me very quickly, almost like he was angry at me. And he said, that's Peter Criss. That's not Anton Fig. And I'm like, holy shit, that's true? That Peter Criss was in his prime. He was like the hard rock Ringo Starr. It was incredible.
Yeah. That's a good comparison.
So we basically ended up just saying, hey, Max, if you give us some money, I can go pay Dave Lombardo and Stu Block, one of my favorite singers, to just do a second version of the record and a fun version, and just do it with no stress, no big studio time. And I let Dave do anything he wanted. He wasn't told what to do by anyone. And the same with Stu. So it was very confusing for both of them, because they expected me to be some dictator and asshole, and I was going to tell them what to do and all that stuff. And I remember saying to Dave Lombardo right here as we're talking on video, Dave looked at me very strange from his house in Los Angeles, and he said, hang on, you don't want to hear my ideas first? And I said, nope. You want to approve them? And I said, nope. Basically it was like, you're Dave Lombardo. Why do I need to tell you what to play? Stu was the one that had the problems, because Stu needed someone to tell him, because he has so many voices. He didn't know, do I do like a Phil Anselmo style? Do I do a Rob Halford style? He didn't know. So I tortured him. I kept saying, nope, Stu, that's up to you. It's not me. You do whatever you want. So I think he was the most nervous. And also the last thing is, and then I'll shut up and answer a question, is...
Oh, that's okay. Keep going.
You know what? The cool thing is I've answered all your questions already. Maybe. I think the best part for me was I said to both guys, I said, listen, just do 3 takes, 3 passes. You got 3 chances to do the whole song.
Yeah.
And I'll take your 3 and pick the best version.
Yeah.
And And that was very scary because that's not normally how it's done. And there was a reason for that. It was because it's not some big budget studio record. It's just something fun to put out alongside the other version of the album, and to let people know, hey, here's a cool record, or a cool catalog coming out. But the coolest thing for me is when I was telling my sister this 2 nights ago on my Facebook Messenger, and I was telling her that when I was, whenever the album Haunting the Chapel came out, I think that was before Hell Awaits. I think it was I don't know if Haunting the Chapel.
84.
84?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was that the EP?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I remember having a Sanyo cassette player.
Yeah.
And I went to this school that was very close to where I lived in Ottawa, Canada, and sat there by myself smoking a cigarette. I was just turned 17 or 18 years old. And I remember going on a Friday or Saturday night to sneak out of the house to have a cigarette. And I brought my little radio and cassette player, and I sat on one of the school benches at nighttime. Nobody was there. It was pitch black. And I'll never forget air drumming, sitting there smoking and air drumming at nighttime by myself, like Chemical Warfare and Captor of Sin and things like that. And I really looked at Tom Araya and Dave Lombardo as gods as a teenager, because yes, Jeff Hanneman and yes, Kerry King, the writers, we know that. Later I discovered they were the geniuses too, but the voice and the drums were just so incredible to me as a teenager. And I told my sister, how strange is it if you told the young Jeff Waters as a teenager that these gods, like you would meet them and blah, blah, blah. But mainly Dave Lombardo would actually play on one of your Annihilator records. And it's a small thing, but to me, it's just incredible. It really is, as a fan.
I mean, yeah, I can totally understand you. I hear you. If there's 2 records I could redo, and I'm not a musician, I don't know anything about it, but I would love to hear Hotter Than Hell from Kiss again with a new drum sound, and Hell Awaits, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Hell Awaits has a weak drum sound compared to what came afterwards,
It's a tough thing, because I would put on music like Saxon would redo things. One of my favorite albums, top 20 favorite albums would be Wheels of Steel.
Yeah.
And the last song on that record, called Machine Gun, has this two parts that have double bass, and the whole ending is double bass. And that was a huge influence, just hearing the double bass on that song. Like, the drummer was going for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes at the end on double bass, and I'd never heard it before. And then I'd heard a song, I realized that, Hellbent for Leather, Killing Machine, Les Binks would have double bass, and I discovered that. And then Dan Beeler from Exciter was a big one for me. But when I hear these, and Exodus, all these bands and Testament, they've all done some great redoing. And as a musician too, I understand why you want to redo things. But unfortunately, I don't think, it's just an opinion, but I'm not sure. I don't know how many people are successful at making, like, you remember Defenders of the Faith, and there was an early Ronnie James Dio album, and there was some of the hair metal that was good, that was coming out of the States. The productions and the sounds quality was really lo-fi and like out of tune singing and just not good sound.
Yeah.
But today, if you put those on, you can't beat that. That's the way it was.
Yeah, it's true.
I bet you.
Yeah.
I bet you if you took Slayer 20 years ago, whenever Dave Lombardo was back in Slayer years ago, like, I don't know what, in his comeback album or whatever he did with them, I bet you if you took that lineup again and redid Hell Awaits, it would sound better and heavy, but I tell you, more than half of the people would love the original better. I know what you're saying.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Well, did you call those old guys again, Mike and Dave, and said, "Look, I'm going to do metal again, but you're not going to be on it"?
No, because I figured It's getting re-released as well. The original one's coming out too. So it's not like I deleted them and only put the Dave Lombardo Stu Block on. So it's like there's the version with the original guys, and then there's another version of it. You know.
Yeah. All right.
I've talked to Dave Patton. He was my faithful and amazing, talented guitar player and singer live and singer in the studio. And when I met him, he had sort of lied to me a bit and said he was a singer. He wasn't a singer. He was a guitar player. And he played in a well-known Canadian band as a guitar player for a little bit.
Which one?
But I'm trying to remember. It was a very Nickelback type of band. It was
Tragically Hip or something.
No, close. More Nickelbacky. It was. Oh, come on, guy's got a deep. Guy's got a deep voice. He had a mustache, a little beard. The singer was a guitar player as well. I'll try and remember the name of it.
Tricky.
Yeah, he filled in for the guitar player for a while as a touring guitar player.
And
not Thornton. It's gonna. But they're very Nickelbacky. Oh, here we go. They are on. They are or were on Chad Kroger's 604 record company.
Is it Monster?
You know what? No, I should look that up. I should look it up.
It's okay. But apart from this, you changed the song lists on the new CD compared to
yeah.
And you left one out.
Yeah. So the song that was left, I'm still, my brain is, you guess what I'm focusing on right now? Genres, charts. Okay, I'm going to get rid of it. Hang on. Oops, I lost you. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, so two things. One, I just decided to put the order in how I would do it today.
Okay.
You look back on the songs and you say, I should have put it in this order or that order. When it was remixed, I had found Alexi Leho had done a solo at the end of the song, and I kind of cut it out because it was just long. And then when he passed away and I started to redo this, I saw his, right where I'm sitting actually is a couple of computer monitors, and they're touch screens. Like you play a piano on them. It's like right in front of me here. And I was sitting right here, and I got to that song just before he died, maybe 2 weeks before he died. And I saw, Alexi, hey, wait, I was looking at the masters. Wait, there's a longer solo at the end. I guess I faded it out quickly back then.
Yeah.
And it made sense. I went right away and I went, oh, is that any good? And I put the whole thing in, and it was like, wow, honestly, he was probably the best player. I mean, for soloing, he was one of the best players out there. And I don't think a lot of people knew that. I think a lot of people knew he was an amazing guitar player, but I don't think they realized just how great he really was at lead guitar. He was like, I've been friends with and played with and guys like Jeff Loomis, Roderick, all these shredders from the old school to new school. Even guys like, Corey Bolio from Trivium is an amazing lead guitar player. These guys are great. But Alexi stands out to me because he took that Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Marty Friedman, Jeff Waters, and all these other guitar players, and he made them, he brought them to all these new kids that never heard the original shred. So he was a big, big fucking genius at this. But I just decided, okay, well, when we remix this, make sure we put the whole solo in at the end. And I like, there's something about that too, is Dave Lombardo, when he sent me his drums, he said something like, I know I'm doing a lot of drums at the end when Alexi's doing his solos. But he said when he was doing the drums for that song, Downright Dominate, that Alexi played, the last minute and a half is all Alexi shredding. Dave said he closed his eyes and he was playing this stuff, and it was almost like Alexi was there looking at him saying, play with me. Don't play behind me. So you've got Alexi shredding for a minute and a half, and you've got Dave Lombardo jamming with him after he passes away. So that was pretty touching. So I put the album in the order that I like today. There's that one song, Surprised the Hell Out of Me, that's coming out in, I think in a month or soon. It's called Couple Suicide, and that's going to be on the. That's one of the songs where on the original, you know how you can't beat the originals, but I think on this version, wow, that one song stands out. It's a sleeper. It's something I didn't know would turn out that well with Stu Block singing and Dave Lombardo. It's the combination was perfect.
But did you put Danko Jones out of this? Then?
No, I mean Danko and Angela Gasso were singing on that originally. Yeah. So we took the lead vocal of Danko out and put Stu on, but we kept Angela and Danko's background stuff. Right. So again, there's both versions are going to be released. So it's not deleting anyone. It's an extra version, and you don't have to like it or listen to it. It's just an optional, but it's worth checking out. And I can't wait to see the reactions of press and fans when the ones that hear it. And one will go, I like the original way better. I like Patton's voice better than on Stu, or I like Lombardo's drumming better, or I like Mangini, or I like, it's going to be, it's going to be like fun to watch everybody argue over it. But the last thing is one song is missing from the original called Operation Annihilation. Yeah. And it featured another fucking genius rhythm player and songwriter, Michael Amott. Yeah. And I brought him on to do a solo, and he was a little nervous about doing a solo because, obviously Loomis or his brother were the lead shredders. I said, no, Michael, you can fucking play lead because you're that great. So he came on and played a beautiful solo on there. But over the years, like behind me, you see the studio. There's a room beside us that has the Macs and the PC and the backup stuff and machine stuff. And over the years, you have to keep upgrading your software, but obviously you have to keep upgrading the computers. So every three years, new computer, maybe every whatever. So you make backups. Yeah. So that means from 2006 when we recorded that, there's been, 10, 15 years or whatever of backups. Yeah. And somewhere along the chain, that folder never got copied. So all my backups don't have that in there. So I must have not backed it up back in 2007. Yeah. Okay. So what I did there is I thought, fuck, that's too bad, but at least it's on the original one. So at least people can get that. But also I realized I had to bring another song to the album to replace it. So I pulled two songs, really. I pulled an Exciter song called Heavy Metal Maniac, which is great because Dan Beehler's singing some backups, but the bass player, Alan Johnson, the original bass player, is the bass player on the song. And Dave Lombardo was starting out when Exciter had already put out their World War III on Mike Varney's compilation record. So Exciter were out first, and they were a very important band for the Big Four and everybody else. And Anvil, the first two Anvil albums were incredibly important as well. And those are two unsung hero bands in the genre of metal. Is Exciter and Anvil's first two records were so important to everybody else, and they don't even know it. But so Beehler, Johnson, the Exciter cover with Lombardo, Block, and Waters, that Heavy Metal Maniac's on there. And then I decided, well, since the number one person in my parental life other than my parents, the one that was like my father in my own musical way, Eddie Van Halen, died. And I thought, you know what, fucking just bring back our cover of Romeo Delight. And it's not the best version in the world, and it's not incredible. Nobody can ever get anywhere as close to Van Halen as Van Halen. It's impossible. They're probably the best band that's ever been on the earth. Definitely the best guitar player and the best rhythm section. But I think, well, hey, imagine you're in a band and with one singer, your first 6 albums, 6 albums in a row of that. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You can't beat that. So I just thought, with Alexi passing away, we can have a bigger solo from him now, a longer solo. We can have Dave Lombardo kind of threw in his own little tribute without saying anything to me with his playing. You've got Eddie Van Halen, at least we got a Van Halen cover tune in, and I dedicated the record to both Eddie and Alexi. It all just made sense to me. It just made sense.
This is great. Jeff, you are Annihilator. I just, when I read through some facts and figures, I figured you had probably almost at least over 35 other musicians on your side during all the decades.
Over 40.
How important for you? That's not a tricky question, but isn't a stable lineup not really that important for you anymore?
No, I mean, the thing is, well, what for our touring lineup now, since I've been singing for the last three or four albums, I don't know. The touring thing is, I found three guys that are just perfect, younger, more energy, and very talented, and that's been the band for over half a decade. So that's kind of stable, but the whole intention of Annihilator at the beginning was just me and a singer named John Bates started this band, and we wrote a couple of songs together. And I think the ones, I don't know, 6 of them, something, and maybe I think 4 of them on Alice and 2 on Never Neverland. Mm-hmm. But one was the most important one at the beginning, which was Alice in Hell. And him and I were writing these songs and making demos. We were both very new and young. And we looked at each other and said, oh, we have to find a bass player and a drummer. So it was innocent. It was like, oh, we have to find. So we found a bass player, drummer, and right away, one guy didn't want to come to practice. He wanted to go to the club or go drinking and see bands at the bar. And his girlfriend wouldn't let him come out to practice. So very quickly, and I look at the history of it now on my demos. And the demos were a big thing, of course, as people know in the 70s and especially 80s. Demos were the big thing, cassette trading and all that shit. And Annihilator had one of the top, I think it's in the 3rd or 4th, 5th, whatever, biggest traded or sold demo, along with the Megadeth, Metallica, and Slayer ones.
Testament.
And that was in like 86, 87, 86-ish. And so we were like, kind of like, in that thrash metal genre, we were kind of famous from our demos 2.5 years before our album even came out, our first album.
Was your demo called Phantasmagoria?
Well, I did one, and I wrote the song Alice in Hell and a couple other things in December of 84.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
84.
Yeah.
It took me until the end of 89 to have a record deal and release that record.
Yeah.
And we did 2 demos. One was like 84, 85 was Welcome to Your Death. It had songs from the Alice in Hell album.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 ended up on Never Neverland. And then the second demo was 86 called Phantasmagoria demo. It had the song Alice in Hell and a few things that would later be on those 2 albums. And then the important one for me was one that people hadn't heard from, which was the one I shopped to record companies. And funny enough, the original ones didn't get any interest from labels. Mm-hmm. The only interest I got, and this is a rare story, is the song Alice in Hell, which helped start our career along with the classical guitar, Krista Lann. That song, it got listened to by labels, but they didn't sign it. They weren't really interested, except one label, Metal Blade, sent me a contract. And they sent it to my mom and dad's house. And all it was it said, we'll give you, I think it was $2,000 or $2,500 US to buy the song Alice in Hell to use for their artist, Lizzie Borden.
You're killing me.
Yeah. And I ran to my father because I was a kid. I ran to my dad and said, look, I got a record deal offer for the song, $2,500 or whatever it was. And, or maybe 5,000, but it wasn't more than 5,000. Yeah. And I said to my dad, should I sign it? And he looks at me and he goes, oh my God, if somebody's going to give you like $5,000 to buy one of your songs, what if you made 10 songs and you didn't sell it? You just got a deal so you could still make money from it. And I'm like, oh, okay, Dad. And so I waited. And luckily, by the time I got a real band together, I thought, in Vancouver, Canada, I had to move away from my city of Ottawa because there was no musicians there that were at a level to do this properly. So after a few years, I realized the only thing I can do is get out of this city. And I made the scary move to Vancouver, and there was hundreds of musicians. And that's where it started finally in 89. So
this is great. Jeff, we're running out of time because I have my fucking Zoom thing to pro. Me means our company. So it was great, and finally, I got the chance to talk to you. I've been doing this for 20 years plus, and we never had the occasion, which is insane. Just come to think about it. But
well, maybe Munich, that'd be great, because I like to. Sometimes I vacation there for I floated down the river a few times in the sun, and watched the surfers surf off
the ice block. Yeah,
nice. Yeah. Those are things besides the food and the beer gardens and all that fun stuff. Those are the things that I really remember, were the weather and the little river, the fast moving river where they surf, and then the slow moving one where everybody's lying around in the grass and you see people just lying on their backs floating down this little river. It's just so many and the history, and from way back in the history, it's beautiful. So whatever. So this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But well, the one thing is we're going to have a lot of fun maybe in 2023 and get the first 3 albums, get the first couple of singers.
Yeah.
Aaron Randall from Set the World on Fire, Coburn Fire, singer from Never Neverland, and Stu Block to sing the Alice in Hell album because Randy Rampage, our singer, passed away.
Yeah.
We're going to put that together and make it the most funnest, coolest metal fun show we could ever do and just have a blast. And I also have I've only been an Annihilator and played heavy metal in my life, really. But just between me and you.
Yeah.
Watch for me in 2023 in the summer. Watch. I've got a new band.
I'm looking forward to all the flamenco music you're gonna do.
It's not heavy metal. It's not what people always say. Oh, are you gonna do a classical record, a jazz record, a blues record, an instrumental record? No. I'm gonna totally take the world by storm.
Nice. This is a good last word because we're gonna get kicked out anytime now.
Okay. All right. Well,
I loved it. Have fun.
Thank you very much.
And next
be
time,
safe.
The beer is on me.
Yes. Everybody be safe. Have fun. Listen to music and see you all on tour, or go see bands on tour and have fun. Enjoy life. I'll see you later.
See you. Thank you very much.